and Studs! Hello and welcome back to the channel, my little cozy brick family. Sprues and Studs here, and today we will be finishing part 2 of the 1974 Porsche 911 Sports Coupe and Targa build. I know that you all have been eagerly awaiting the completion of this build, so let's dive into the build straight away with step 5. Again, I would appreciate all of your support if you could subscribe to the channel so that I can keep pumping out this excellent content for your viewing pleasure. As you know, cranking out content such as this is a time-consuming and a fairly expensive thing, so your views and subscriptions are of the utmost importance. While I am shamelessly marketing myself, I might as well add on to follow me on my socials. You can find me on Instagram at Sprues and Studs. I usually post things 100% relative to my YouTube channel on Insta, so if you want to see what sets I have bought for myself and up-to-the-minute updates, then Insta is a place to go. I also post pictures of my builds on Insta, so you will all have the privilege to see upcoming videos that I will be posting on the YouTubes at a future date. I mean, come on. Who does not want to have insider information on future builds of this channel? And guess what? Just like subbing on the YouTubes, this doesn't cost you a thing to have this insider access. You can also find me on the Twitterverse as well, also at Sprues and Studs. On Twitter, I pretty much post everything under the sun, but I focus mostly on Pokemon Go and Pokemon TCG with a light smattering of LEGO and Warhammer 40k content. So if it's a buffet of variety that you want, then following me on Twitter is also the route to go. But hey, why not overflow your notifications and sub to all my channels and my socials? I mean, who doesn't want more of the Sprues and Studs, right? No? Sad. I was hoping for a resounding yes, but hey, I get it. There's only so much of me that I'm able to tolerate on a day-to-day basis too. Refocusing in on the build, I'm just going to do a quick recap, just in case if you forgot the details of this build. So this particular Porsche 911 was based off the 1974 model, hence why it looks quite classic, but also quite modern at the same time, because car enthusiasts always know that despite Porsche saying that there's a new 911 model, it doesn't look quite so new because the old version looks like the new version. Well, while that statement is not entirely true, it's not entirely false either. Anyway, this LEGO set was released on February 17th, 2021 at a price point of $150. In exchange for your very hard-earned $150, you get a 1458 pieces of white and black plastic. Aren't you excited to fork over your monies for 1,000 pieces of plastic? I know when I saw this set first get announced, I was exactly like Futurama Fry, where the meme says, "Take my money!" For LEGO sports car enthusiasts, it's my not-so-humble opinion that this set is a must-buy for you. As I will digress later on, this LEGO model looks absolutely fantastic and it is so well designed and is a lot of fun and a blast to put together. I mean, there was at no point in time in the build where I thought it was too repetitive or boring. I was locked in and engaged the whole entire time. As I was editing the prior video, I thought I had the length of time balanced between the first video and this particular video. Well, it looks like yours truly did not do this quite correctly, so I apologize for that. I think my first video clocked in around like 25 minutes, while this one weighs in at a hefty, I think as the time of editing, maybe like 40 minutes or so. I should have added bag 5 or step 5 to the prior video, but hey, I'll get it right the next time. Again, I would like to hear your opinions on dividing these larger sets in 2 or more parts depending on the size of the build. Or would you all like to sit down for a marathon session and watch these build videos from beginning to end, which would take really more than 60 minutes? Or you like this current format where I divide sets with more than, say, 1,000 pieces into 2? I personally feel that even my attention span is pushed at 30 minutes or so, so that's why I opted to divide these videos in half. Either way, your opinion is important to me, so let me know in the comments section, please. So, as I said before, there are a total of 11 bags in this set, with bags 1 through 7 being interchangeable between the coupe version and the Targa version. Where this set is amazing to me is that you can choose your own adventure. But not really. But you can choose the version of the build that you like. You will use bags 8 and 9 to build the coupe version of the car. Again, there are more pieces to the coupe version of the car because you need to build the roof of the car. Where if you opt to build the Targa version, you will use bags 8 and 10. This version has less pieces because there's no roof to the car. I'm a big fan of the coupe version, so you will see me building the coupe version of the car first. But fear not, my brick family. I will also be building the Targa version on this very same video so you can feast your eyeballs on it. I mean, what kind of content creator would I be if I didn't show you all the contents, right? You have to make an informed decision if this set is the right one for you, and that's what I am here for. I'm curious though, after the video is done, please leave a comment in the comments section and let me know what version you like better. Is it the coupe version or the Targa version? It would be really cool if you could tell me why you like one version better than the other one, so we can possibly engage in some light dialogue and banter, and some friendly back and forth. That's if you like the Targa version over the coupe version. I will get this little convo started by saying that I like the coupe version by far. There we go! Shots fired! The reason why I like the coupe version better is that I have always been biased on coupe versions of cars. The lines look more sleek and elegant on the coupe versus the Targa. Another thing is that the coupe version has a iconic spoiler on the back end. I know, as I said in previous videos, I love big, gaudy spoilers, and this is no exception. Well, except this particular fact that the spoiler is rather muted, but overall fits the style and flow of the car. The other reason why I like coupes more than convertibles is that for the most part, coupes are lighter than their convertible counterparts. The roof of the car gives the car rigidity so it can handle rolls and corners better. On the convertible versions, the car manufacturers typically need to brace the car in other areas because verts have no roof. This bracing then subsequently tends to give the car more weight, and the heavier the car is, the worse it performs on all fronts. Acceleration always suffers. It takes slower to get to top speed, and the handling suffers as well. The mantra of all awesome high-performing cars is a massive power-to-weight ratio. The higher power-to-weight ratio, the better the car will be able to handle and tear around the track and be more fast and more nimble. So yeah, how's that for dialogue? Like I said, please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear your opinions on this issue. On the flip side of things, convertibles are pretty cool themselves. One of my friends has a Honda S2000, and I have been in that car a great number of times, and I'll be honest with you, there is something to be said about having the top-down, open-air experience. For some odd reason, whenever I'm in that car, I feel just more connected to the road. I really can't describe the feeling or the sensation, but those of you who own verts know exactly the feeling that I'm talking about. There is something to be said about the wind blowing through your hair while you're barreling down the highway at some fast speed that brings a sense of acceleration or exhilaration to the driver and the passenger as well. I suppose the downside of the vert is that when the sun is glaring at you and you're being broiled alive by 90+ degree heat, the experience of sitting and driving in a convertible can be quite uncomfortable. Don't ask me how I know. But again, on the flip side, you can't replicate that top-down experience in the coupe versions of the cars. So obviously there are pluses and minuses on each side of the equation. You just have to weigh which one is more important to you and go with what you like better, right? Unless, well, you don't have to make that hard decision. You can have the best of both worlds by buying both versions of the car, right? There we go. Problem solved and debate solved. It's too bad that real-life cars are not as flexible as this particular Lego model, where if you get bored of one version, you can just automatically swap to the other version. So you're seeing the passenger door being built, and is a mirror build of the driver's side door. What I like about the design of the door is that, for one, I really like the tan Lego pieces on the side of the door that further accents the interior of the car. These little design flavors give a lot more character and nuance to the car. The door is complete with functional door handles as well as a very appropriately represented side-viewed mirror. One major design genius that I want to point out is that the doors actually snap into position and holds position. What I mean by that statement is that the doors of the car are closed, and when you tip the car on its side, the doors actually remain shut. This is made possible by a clip design, which I think is really cool. What you're seeing built on screen is the dashboard of the Porsche 911. And what I had talked about before was that most of these cars, they look completely devoid and denuded in their interior. But I'm glad that Lego decided to put more detail and put more effort on this particular car, because guess what? You actually get a dashboard with gauge clusters, and as well as the speedometer and the odometer, all that stuff you can see on screen. I love it how the Lego designers fully fleshed out the interior of the car. I mean, you have the steering wheel that actually works, and if you shift to the left, the car wheel shifts to the left. And then you again have those gauge clusters, which brings out more detail. And then, as you saw prior, you definitely have the emergency brake as well as the shift knob to change gears, which again reflects the real car so well. Not to mention that you have those cool seats that actually work when you pull it back, and then you have the back seat as well. As you can see here, we have migrated on to building components of the wheel wells that fill in the gaps of the wheel well and the main chassis. I suppose the real-life equivalent to this step would be putting in a plastic fender that hides the rest of the car from normal human view. This is accomplished by using a combination of a rectangular white piece along with a bunch of red and blue studs coupled with a 1x3 flat black piece. In this step, you are also seeing that we are building up the front chassis of the car as well. So right now what you see on screen is building the front headlights of this particular car. One thing again that I love about this particular design is that these headlights actually use Lego pieces, so it looks completely functional. Whereas, as I said before in the Lego Speed Champion sets, I hate using stickers. And actually, to be honest, there are some times in which in those Lego Technic models, you're actually stickering the headlights. But again, I love using functional Lego parts to actually represent the headlights. So right now we are building the trunk of the car, and one thing I want to point out right here is that printed Lego piece. Again, I love that Lego is specifically printing out these pieces so that we don't have to go through the pain of stickering. And again, without stickers, these things will come off and fall apart at some point in time. And as you previously saw, we just opened bag 8, and we will be, well, bag 9 as well, as you saw it flash on the screen. We will be building the coupe version of the car. And as I said, you will be using bags 8 and 9 to build the coupe version, which I think is the better version, and this is the version that you're going to see first on this particular video. As you can see on your lovely screen, as I'm trying to fit this component into the trunk of the car, well, it's not technically the trunk because the engine's in the back, but regardless, I was having a lot of trouble trying to fit this particular piece in. You had to clip it on, and then you had to like attach the hose on a particular area. I wish this part was a little bit easier to, how do I say this, fit in. And this part is you see me building right now, I guess is some sort of like engine cover or something like that. Again, I really had a lot of trouble trying to figure out where to put this on this particular car. It took me a little bit to figure out because the instructions weren't exactly too descriptive as to the position as to where it's supposed to go. Currently, we are building the rear windscreen of the coupe version. The windscreen is comprised of a very large rectangular translucent Lego piece which is sandwiched between a thin white 1x10 and a thick 1x10 Lego piece. After the windscreen is set up, then the whole entire piece is connected to the body of the car using two clip-type pieces that click into the frame of the car. I think the solution is pretty smart. Not really pretty smart. It's almost genius, and I would expect nothing less from a Lego designer who does not have or appear to have any limits to what pieces they can choose from. As I said before in the video, I like the slopes and angles of the coupe version better because they hold more true to the Targa version, and the rear windscreen is a primary example of what I'm talking about. So as you can see here on your lovely screen, we're currently building the trunk version of it. One thing I want to point out too is that turbo pre-printed Lego piece. As I've told you before, I love these pre-printed Lego pieces, mainly because they're not stickered and they will last, well, they'll pretty much last forever if you take care of your Lego cars. On screen, you are seeing the finishing touches being put on the 911 coupe. We are building the bottom of the fender flares on the car, with 2 being on the driver's side and 2 on the passenger side of the car. After the bottom is put on, then we migrate on putting the real fender flares on each side of the car. This is accomplished by using 2 white arch pieces on either side of the wheel well and a little nubbin piece that serves as a capstone in the middle of the arches. We then rinse and repeat on the other side of the car. I like the fender flares on the coupe version better than the Targa because the Targa really doesn't have fender flares, as you will see later on in the video. In real life, fender flares allow you to fit meatier tires on your car so that your car can have massive grip at the rear end, since particular models of Porsches use rear-wheel drive. In fact, most widths of Porsches are in the 1 foot range, which is really quite wide. Anyway, you won't need to camber in the wheels if you have wide enough fender flares, such as on this particular model. So right now, as you see on screen, we're jumping into building the Targa version of the Porsche 911. Now, I apologize for the many jump cuts that happened in this particular area, mainly because what I had to do was basically remove all the parts from the coupe version and then use part of those parts on the Targa version. So there were a lot of pieces that I just had to pull out, and that's why those cuts had to be made. So right now, the wheel arches are being built on the rear quarter panels of the car, and one of the major differences between the coupe version and the Targa version that you're going to see here is that for some reason the Targa version has a less pronounced wheel arch, or less pronounced wheel flare. I actually like the Fender Flares more on the coupe version because typically Fender Flares make the car look a lot more aggressive, and you can actually fit in larger wheels for better grip. So on this Targa version, it just doesn't look as aggressive as the coupe. Going back to comparing the coupe version versus the Targa version, the engine compartment of the Targa version is much simpler than the coupe version. I believe that there's less piece count, and the compartment space in the Targa version may actually be smaller than the coupe version, well, hence the lower piece count. There are less components of the Targa engine, and the pieces are easier to fit in the engine compartment. You don't have to connect the hose piece from one Lego piece to another Lego piece, which saves some hassle and effort. Here, we are building the rear windscreen of the car. The arch that you can find on the rear portion of the real car is comprised of many black Lego pieces on the Lego model. Then you attach large rectangular clear pieces to the arch, followed by large curved clear translucent pieces to represent the rear windscreen. Now, I have a very small gripe here about this area on the Targa model. When you look at the picture of the Targa model of the real car, the rear windscreen does not look as big as how the Lego model represents the rear windscreen. The size and proportion of this area looks a bit off to me, which is another reason why I like the coupe version better than this one. And there we have it, folks. Another build has been completed. Please let me know what you think of this particular build. Have you bought it already? Do you like it? Love it? Or think that this is the best Lego since sliced bread? That didn't make any sense whatsoever. How about the best build since the Lego Cian? Wait, you may not have that frame of reference, so yeah, I guess I'll drop it. I'll recap again and say that this set is worth handing your Benjamins in half to the Lego group if you are a Lego car fanatic like me. There are so many pluses with this set, and I cannot even think of one negative thing to say about this set at all. There are absolutely no stickers, which in my opinion is a massive thing. The build is fun and exciting with no repetition whatsoever. The Lego car completely looks like the real car that it's based off of. You had heard me gripe in the past that when Lego decides to shrink down the cost and lessen the piece count, that the Lego model car does not look right proportion-wise. I'm a firm believer that all Lego cars should be on the scale because it just looks right. Looking at the coupe version right now as I am editing the video, I completely love the lines, the attention to detail, and the accuracy of this Lego model. I highly recommend you go out and buy this lovely plastic masterpiece. Again, please leave a comment below on which version that you like better, the Targa or the coupe. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. So anyways, thank you my brick family for sticking around till the end. For those of you who have made it to the end, please, 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 I would appreciate your support by subbing to this humble little channel. Again, the more that we grow this little family of ours, the more that I am able to give back to you, the lucky viewer, poly bags and Lego sets. I selfishly want to spread more Lego joy and happiness to you all. Alright folks, this is Sprues and Studs, and I am outie. I will see you all in the next build, whatever it may be.